I don't know what the what the show up number was, but we had around 40 guests that were here. I saw teammates here who had been here in a while. I had a guest. My guest tonight was a gentleman who he played. His son and my son played soccer together, and he was from Ghana, and was kind of only been in the U.S. about 10 years. Actually grew up in Paris. And long story short, I just waited a long time to invite the guy for whatever reason. Any of you have people on your list you wait a long time to invite for whatever reason. But ever since this How Money Works book came out, for me, I got like a chip on my shoulder. I have 14 books out personally. And as I mentioned, I helped write the other book that we were involved in. And I think I gave out 4 books over like 8 years. And I've given out 14 books in this in just a few months. But because of the book, the confidence that I got, I invited him. And you know what he said to me? He goes, "Why did you wait so long to invite me?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You waited. You've known me for a while. Why did you wait till now?" I said, "Well, you weren't working when I met you." He goes, "Yeah, but I got 4 kids, and my wife works. I needed this when I met you." He goes, I go, "Pump the brakes, Saturday. I'll help you." He goes, "Please." He goes, "And then I'd like to do this with you too." But we got people like that on our list, right? And the bottom line is, I'm just killing time so you don't have people walking into your meeting here. But I recognize that that's the big difference. Is that when you have the confidence, when your mind is in the right place, people just start to show up and they can feel that in you. And many times when we're not in that recruiting mindset, they can also feel it. It's those repetitious thoughts that I know he's going to talk about. But anyways, look, I want to get Chris talking up here. All I can say is this. When I started in this business, I met a guy named Jeff. And a lot of you know who he is. He's a big earner in the company. But one thing this guy said to me, he pounded it into my head. He said, "Whatever you do, Angelo, you better have a self-improvement plan for yourself. Because if you're not always working on yourself, like reading, whatever you got to do, because you're not going to be able to lead a large group of people. You'll never be at much." And I remembered I worked with another guy who didn't believe in any self-improvement. He already had everything figured out. And eventually it became a big problem because one person had it all figured out and one person was always encouraging me to look inward. And eventually that led to our relationship being severed with some of those people. But the point of the story is when I see someone like Chris, you look at the finished product, and he's so good in how he tells, "Man, I wish I could be like that guy." What you don't understand is the amount of money and time that he's invested in himself. I thought I read some books till I met him. I thought I had done programs, and what I recognized is not about doing the program, but then following through and doing the work that's behind it. And what I admire the most about this guy is he says it, but he also does it. And I think so many people you meet, they just go to one self-improvement thing to another, and they always stay broke their whole life. And then we look at those people, and we never want to work on ourselves because we look at people who've tried to work on themselves, and they didn't make it big. So we say, "What the hell do I need to work on myself for?" What he reminded me of is that you could start an account with 30 people in Colorado. You could climb to the top of the financial world, but also be rich on the inside. The biggest thing I saw with him, the transformation I've seen is watching him from a distance, is how he's transformed on the inside. And that, I honestly, one of the most profound people I've ever heard speak, and it's kind of not just saying it, but I've gotten so much from him, and I'm excited to hear. And look, I know we said an hour, but when people if it's getting late and he's still going, you can leave. We love you, we won't be mad at you, but I want him to talk until he doesn't want to talk anymore. All right, so let's give it up for Chris. Get set some appointments and get some things moving. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Glad you invited people.
Yep.
Okay. You can never tell. Well, I got 13 hours of material. I'm not going to keep you that long.
Don't need a hotel.
Yeah, no, it's great to be with you guys. I sent, well, maybe I haven't sent
the slide over to you guys yet, but this is what you need to be talking about. And, you know, you and I were talking a little bit, and some of you came from, you know, Swan's World, and I know, you know, there was a mission, and I don't know their business model very well and all that. It doesn't really matter. This thing's legit. This mission's legit. And what's happening with the book is exactly what you're talking about. Is my group, we had about 5,000 books show up in December, and we're out of books. So we're on the monthly drop ship, 62 books a month, which is you handing out 2 books a day. And what the numbers are is basically, you guys can do your own numbers, and I can draw some of this stuff up in the morning. But basically, the numbers are that have been tested through Tom's group is there's basically a 3,000 point sale per 10 books. That's what's been proven out. Our numbers are starting to show up pretty significantly, and I can, you know, go testimony after testimony after testimony. If I was on the phone with a guy today who I gave a book to my best friend in that story that got me off the ground. I gave him a book, and then he gave a book to the guy that coaches their high school football team for his kids. And he said, "Hey, I need to meet with you." So I went and met with him, and I sat down with him, and we were connecting. I said, "Dude, here's the deal. What I want you to understand with this book is we're on a mission in the state of Colorado. We want to stamp out financial literacy in the state of Colorado. We believe that 5.5 million people really need our help, and here's why." Right? And I went through banks paying 0.09%, and you know, they're charging 18%. So I didn't like get into it, but I'm like, you know, this is what makes us different. And he was going to talk about, you know, the small inheritance that he was getting, but they were talking to different advisors, and he said, "Dude, I actually believe you, and I believe you're not just talking crap, that you're actually on a mission, and you're authentic, and my mom's getting $15 million in the next year through an inheritance, right? 15 million bucks. And I wasn't going to tell you about that, but you started talking about the right stuff. You started talking about mission, and you're not full of crap. You're actually here to help me. Like, you're not here to sell me stuff." Anyway, so he's like, "I'm getting a little bit of money. We put that on." So then I reached out to him today. He texted me. I landed. And he's like, "Dude, you got to call me." I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "My mom wants me to be the point person. She wants to talk to you a little bit, but she just trusts me. 4 million's coming Friday." So I don't know what kind of, I never worry about points. I don't worry about, anytime you start trying to calculate that crap in your head, you're going the wrong place anyway. So I don't even put points to client. I never do that. I just have a prospect list and let the good Lord figure it all out. But that's going to be a pretty good return for a book, right? I got referred to, you know, as I mentioned in the story, or my presentation, guy's MBA, engineer, total rock star. I sat down with him a year ago, and I showed him Rule of 72, and he looked at me like I was brilliant, right? And so anyway, but it's taken a while. His dad passed anyway, so mom's got $5 million, right? And he's like, "You gotta meet my mom." I sit down with mom. They're interviewing all these advisors, right? And I'm like, "Hey, just so you know, I've got you this book. Here's the purpose of this book." And I go through that whole story. I tell the story of who Steve Siebold is, right? So how you guys heard me tell that story in the overview, talking about who Steve is and his books and who his clients are, Mercedes-Benz and GE and Caterpillar. And, you know, Steve's a $8 to $10 million a year consultant. And then he did a 6-month research project on our firm and interviewed 30 of us to see if we were for real. Then he got obsessed, and his wife said, "Maybe you should come on board." And, you know, pretty cool. And then these guys came together and, you know, wrote this book. And so anyway, so, you know, I open it up, and I always go to page 76, you know, so make sure when you're using this, you get the book out. You go through those 7 milestones. I talk about the mission of stamping out financial literacy. So you guys have a mission here. So what's cool is all my guys are talking about this. This is the common theme. We're talking about the state and what we're doing. And it's about this, right? And so they had interviews with 4 other advisors. They canceled all of them. Because they're like, you're the only guy that's actually talking about a cause. You're actually talking about a mission. And we actually believe you. I'm like, well, you should believe me. Because this is what it's about, right? And so, you know, just the transformation I've been going through and all this. And then Simon Sinek wrote a book called Infinite Game. You guys know who Simon Sinek is, right? Unbelievable. Start with why that guy, right? So he wrote a book called Infinite Game. Tom's like, read this book. And I'll read a little bit of it tomorrow for the training. But basically, Simon Sinek's sitting there talking about, you know, in 2007, he went to go speak at a Microsoft conference of their leaders. And then a month later, he went to go speak to an Apple conference of leaders. And the meetings were totally different, right? Microsoft, so the iPhone hadn't come out yet, right? It was iPod. And so Microsoft stood up, and it was all about their strategies to beat Apple and how they needed to compete against Apple and beat them up and all that stuff. And then they came up with this thing called the Zoomy, I guess, which was like, you know, competitive with the iPod. Well, it never really did anything, right? So they gave Simon Sinek the Zoomy, and then he went to the Apple meeting a month later. So all they talked about was competition and beating Apple. All Apple talked about was, what can we do to help teachers teach better, and what can we do to help students learn better? Mission. And so what he talked about was the finite game of business, and they talked about the infinite game. So yesterday I changed our team name to Team Infinite, right? We're Team Infinite because we're playing an infinite game. The Declaration of Independence is an infinite game. We're never going to get there, but we're going to keep hopefully getting better, right? So this financial literacy thing is an infinite game. And he says it's amazing that Bill Gates was an infinite leader, and then Steve Ballmer came in and was a finite leader and talked about profit and recognition and competition and crushed that culture. Right? Sam Walton did the same thing, right? People in small towns could pay less, right? It was an infinite game for him. Then some leader came in and moved the mission to 3rd and moved profitability and growth in Wall Street up to number 1. Crushed that whole thing. Now hopefully they have an infinite leader. Steve Jobs did that. Scully came in, kicked him out of the company, and then Jobs had to come back and save that company. Because Jobs was an infinite leader. These guys are finite leaders. And so I don't know how y'all feel about where you are right now or where you came from and all that stuff. It doesn't really matter. But this is the shift I'm having. This ain't BS. This isn't BS. This is a mission. And y'all can get on board with it. It's all up to you guys. I know your leaders are on board with it. I know you guys have been part of different missions. I have too in the past. But for me, this is taking shape. This is taking hold. And it's fun to watch our guys actually become bolder than they ever have in their lives. Because when you sit down with someone and do a prospect list, it kind of looks like this, right? But when you get a book list pulled together, it's a big list. Because there's not anybody you can't get that book to and talk to them and get in front of them and start the conversation. You got to have great follow-up with it. And I'll give you guys some scripts on how to reach out and follow up. But I don't know, guys, it's a really, really, really phenomenal, exciting time to be in our business. And I think the greatest gift and the greatest tool just got dropped in our laps. I know, Mark, you agree in this. And so, you know, I'm getting 2 a day out. Our team is 800 month to date. Okay. We're going to go over 1,000. And then our goal is basically we're seeing, I think we can do 2,500 a month. So 2,500 books a month. Okay. We think we can do about 4,000 sales or 4,000 points per sale. That's 1 million points as a result of the mission. You guys can do the numbers. You get out 62 books a month. and you do great follow-up with it, and you're a training associate, $4,500 in your pocket. If you're an MD, it's $9,000, 62 bucks, 62 books a month. I started somebody new last week. She's like, what's my business plan? I'm like, 2 a day. I haven't had that simple of a business plan in my entire career. I'm like, 2 a day, sister. She reached out to me today. I've been traveling so much. I haven't even, like what we were talking, we haven't done a strategy. I haven't had any time to spend with her. I'm like, here's 20 books, go. Right? And you inscribe them, and she's inscribed them. She's like, all these people want to meet. What is up with this? I'm like, because the vibration of the mission, sister, not just slinging IULs, right? You're not just freaking slinging life insurance. I mean, did you guys come in this business to sling life insurance? Hell no! Right? No, you came in to make a difference in people's lives, right? And as a result, make your life different. So you guys are really aligning with the right group at the right time, right? With literally the right tool. And we actually have the licenses to fulfill what needs to happen for each person. Is that right, Mark? Right? When's the last time you guys went and saw a partially licensed doctor? Hope you guys are excited about that.
Yes.
Okay. More excited than you look. All right. So I don't know. Maybe get into my story a little bit. I don't think everybody knows my full story. Do you? No. Yes. No. No. All right. So you got a little bit of it in the meeting. I'll repeat a few things. So Loveland, Colorado. Parents just struggled, kind of lower middle class, and my mom worked in retail. Has anybody ever worked in retail? Yeah. It's awesome, right? Yeah. Especially for females, like high heels. Like there was no high heels, concrete floors, 10, 12 hours a day. And she'd go to the grocery store and drag the groceries in. My dad would be on the couch. She put the groceries on the counter, and he had this vein right here, called his money vein, right? You guys have a dad that had a vein that popped out, right? So he had a money vein that would pop out because of financial stress, and you go over to the counter and you look at what she bought and they'd get in an argument. So that didn't work too well, right? So they divorced, and then, my brother and I went off to college, went to Colorado State University, and you guys kind of heard that whole story, and then started looking for different business opportunities. And so at Anderson, how we started was Trevor Jensen. I don't know if you guys know who Trevor is, right? So Trevor recruited basically me and Brian. Brian was exchanged up to Eric. So Eric recruited Trevor, but how that all started was I was talking to Brian. Brian was our boss, and so he's 6 years older. We were talking about business opportunities, and I'm like, I don't think I want to do the CPA thing for the rest of my life and all that. And then Eric sent an email to Trevor saying, hey dude, I started with, it was WMA back then, right? And I've made $250,000 in the last 18 months. Anderson's not going to teach you how to do that. Bye. That email changed my whole life. Isn't that nuts? So Eric, crazy, made 18 months, $250,000 his first 18 months. Knew nobody in Vegas, right? So Loiso and Trevor work about, it was like 50 hours straight trying to get a deadline done. It's totally ridiculous, right? And then Trevor said, hey, my brother's talking about this financial services firm. And then Brian got excited about it. And Trevor's like, maybe there's something to it. So we got together and we started having this conversation, and there was nothing in Colorado, really. It was a little crazy, wild, wild west back in the day. And so Trevor's like, hey, my brother's coming to town, because Eric was in Vegas, we were in Denver. He said, my brother's coming to town. Dude, he's making $250,000 a year. He's golfing on Fridays. And I'm like, how's it work? And he's like, I don't know. So Trevor didn't understand scenario of disaster, any of that stuff. Trevor just doesn't lie or doesn't make stuff up. That's the kind of guy he is. So for 2 weeks, I was just like, how's it work? How's it work? Tell me more. Tell me more. And Trevor never got into it with me, which is one of the keys you guys always learn, right? And then finally, he just got so sick of it, he just said, dude, just shut up. Shut up. Get to the meeting. And I said, okay, we'll do that. So I came in, I was pretty skeptical. So Eric gave the BPM of his life, which wasn't really even that good. I didn't crack a day, right? But Trevor, Brian, me, and one guy we never saw again. 4 of us, lunchtime, you know Eric, he's cheap. He didn't buy us lunch, right? And he got up there and talked about all this stuff. But at the end of the presentation, about 30 seconds, moved me, and he said, hey, you build a business, you wake up on January 1st, we'll pay you $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a year recurring, whether you want to work or not. I was like, whoa, what's that? That was all he said really in that presentation that totally flipped me. So we did a follow-up interview in my 600 square foot apartment, kind of in downtown Denver. My follow-up interview literally lasted 15 minutes. I was like, whatever. Like, I'll figure it out, right? Because some of y'all need to figure out way too much stuff, and that's just, you're just masking fear, right? Trying to figure it out. It's true. Trying to figure all this stuff out and get all mental and all that, you're just masking what you need to do already. So I was like, let's do it. And so we're in the middle of busy season, and you couldn't make money with a life license. You had to get a life in 6. So we all got life in 6 in a month, right? And this isn't because we're smart. We just have a lot of desire. End of story. Okay? Starting point of everything you need to do is desire. So we just had desire. So we start running BPMs, and I'm literally working, and if I don't show up on Tuesday night, Trevor can't do training because he's got to do the BPM. So I'm sitting meeting with partners, and I'm like, I got to go. And they're like, where you got to go? I'm like, church. They're like, church? Tuesday night church. Yeah, Tuesday night church. What kind of church is that? Anyway. But I couldn't leave them hanging, right? I mean, because it's just funny when people don't want to show up. Like, they don't get it. Because that could be the difference. You could meet the person, say the thing, you know, whatever. So I always had him counting on me. And so I'd come to the BPM. Anyway, so that's kind of what we did for a year. Trevor goes full-time. I go full-time. And then February 2000, so it was 20 years ago, basically this month, I went full-time. But I made a whole $8,000 the first year, which is, I mean, if you make $8,000 in your first year, I mean, that's a total indication you should go full-time. and we're working, largest accounting firm in the world. Trevor and I are fast tracking. So partnerships, all our buddies that, stayed and did all that, they all do really well, but they haven't grown, and they don't seem to be that happy, right? Because they've just worked hard and made money, and there's been no real mission to what they do. Not being critical of them, I just meet them, and there's the same guys I knew 25 years ago. Nothing's changed. They're just more bitter and old. And they're like, why do you have all this energy, Felton? What's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm on a freaking mission, dude. What's wrong with you guys? But so, and as we're leaving, everybody's critical, and they're giving us a bunch of crap and all that. So, and then Enron happened with Anderson in 2001, and they kind of blew up. but that whole first year, I'm just, and even the first year full time, I mean, I stink at the business. I'm like really bad. All I do is talk. All I do is talk about what excites me. This is probably some of you guys. You talk about what excites you. You don't really understand what excites them, right? Dale Carnegie said, I like to eat strawberries and cream for breakfast, but when I go fishing, the fish isn't interested in strawberries and cream. Right? It's interested in that juicy worm that I'm going to put on the end of the hook that I would never eat. Just good sales lesson, right? So but I'm talking about what I'm interested in and doing those things. And then, well, anyway, let me back up. So I'm getting ready to go full time, and then Hubert Humphrey, this was 2000. We do a conference call, and he said, "It's the year of the MD." Right? You guys remember that? It's the year of the MD. So basically, he's trying to get this thing sold to Aegon. So he's trying to promote as many MDs as he can, right, to make the company look great. And but it was beautiful because up to that point, you had to do in 90 days. You had to do about 125,000. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
125,000 points in 90 days. It's 75 now. You did 125. And you needed 25 U4s.
That was how I got promoted.
Yeah. 125,000, 25 U4s submitted. I mean, like if I went to my team right now, like and it said they had to do that, like they just all quit.
Yeah.
They would literally just say, "You literally are asking me to do Mount Everest without oxygen." Anyway, and so it's just all standards. It's all mentality and all that. So anyway, he said, "You're the MD," and he said, "Okay, here's what we're doing: 90,000 and 15. I don't know if you guys remember. 90,000 points, 15. And I didn't understand this personal growth and development stuff. I was unconscious, okay? But I had good work ethic. Anderson taught me some cool things. And all I know is I got lit up. So I'm still at Anderson. I'm leaving in about a month. Hubert does this beginning of January 2000. And I shut the door. I pull out my computer, because we didn't have phones really with stuff on it. And I just made the biggest list I could make. And there's some cues for you guys to get on a run, right? And I called up everybody and I said, "Listen, I'm leaving. I need your help. Eric called me. This is good. Eric Jensen called me. He said, what'd you get from that call?" I'm like, "I got to hit SMD, basically." It was MD, SMD, equivalent. He's like, "When are you going to do it?" "End of the year." Have you ever said that? End of the month, end of the year. You can't say that because your subconscious can't pick up on end of the month, end of the year. You got to be specific, right? So I said end of the year. I didn't understand this stuff. End of the year. He's like, "You got to do it by convention." So he challenged me. I'm talking to my guys about this because I got a bunch of SMDs been with me for a while, and I challenge them, and they like cry. You guys have people like that? Like I challenge them, and they're like, "Why? Why you pick on me?" Anyway, some of you are like that, right? You get challenged, and you're like, "Why don't you like me?" I challenge my guys, and they literally cry. I'm like, "God, can you guys just take a freaking challenge and step up?" They like debate with me, and I was just like, "Jesus, just freaking do it, man. What the hell's wrong?" Anyway, so Eric challenged me, and I said, "All right, game on." And we didn't have a business format manual. I didn't have a system. I didn't know crap. I was fully licensed. I made $8,000, and that's about all I had. But I'm consistent and I'm persistent, right? And I will do whatever it takes, legally and ethically, to get the job done, and I will see it through. So I had some of that stuff going on with me because it wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. I had to read pages over and over and over and over again. I studied all the time because I just couldn't get it. I mean, I was a very below average athlete. If I didn't put in the extra work, it was never going to happen. So that's just how I roll. I've never been naturally gifted in anything. They said you see some finished product stuff, but it's just a lot of work. I just have never been gifted in anything. But I knew you give me enough time, I'll figure it out. Like I've always been that way. So I just got lit up and I just called everyone. I just said, "I'm on a run. I need your help. I need 20 minutes of your time. I will not ask for your help again." It's a pretty good script. Now you actually have a tool to give. Now you actually have this to give. Right? And by the way, you can end that line with, "I got a gift for you." And this is how I cold prospect. "Hey, I got a gift for you." Right? Now, best door opener, icebreaker on the freaking planet is this thing. It's not even close. So you got to get yourselves armed with that. You should get on the drop ship deal and hand out 2 a day. It's unbelievable. But anyway, I didn't have that. And people are like, and I made all my calls standing up. It's a good thing to do when you call people, do it standing up. And I just said, I don't know how many appointments I set. I just set a gob of appointments. I was bad at it, but I had desire. I was really clear on where I was going. And Eric challenged me, and I got to do it. So I went full time on February 1st of 2000. Total idiot, no system. Right, our company's called WMA, which is Amway spelled backwards. Right, I mean it's a total shit show. Right, I mean it was a shit show. WMA, it was.
That's hilarious.
It is. I mean, our founder's like flipping the bird to the regulators. Like, I mean, there's just nothing good that can happen out of this thing, right? I mean, we go to conventions and it's like, you know, like there's shirts with like globes on the back. I mean, it's just like multi-level health, right? I mean, it's just, we're a bunch of CPAs, right? Like we're like May of '99, Eric's like, you got to go to this convention. And I go, and it's Schwann's dominant. You guys probably spoke at it. Schwann's Domination of the Nation tour event, right?
We hadn't made the switch yet, but we were following.
Yeah, but it was Domination of the Nation tour event, and these people got up and they screamed into the microphones about recruits, not recruits, without recruits, and recruits, and recruits. And they say the word recruit. There was like 15,000 people with red shirts on going, oh, we're not following anything. They say recruit, recruit. Oh. Right, you guys know what I'm talking about. Right? You guys are laughing. You're like, yeah, we just got done living that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not being critical of them. Can you imagine though? Like we recruit February '99, May of '99. He's about ready to lose it. May of '99. He says we go to Mandalay Bay, 3 CPAs. Right? We walk in, red shirts everywhere. Well, I'm like, what the hell's this? And every time somebody says recruit, 15,000 people go, oh. I'm like, what is this? Hand of God. I call that hand of God, right? Like, God is to not look at any of that stuff. So we're in literally like the weirdest thing on the planet compared to what we have today, right? This thing is kick-ass, professional. Like, I mean, we always had to gauge, like, who do we bring to this? Do I want to invite that person? And, you know, now I got none of that. I have no hesitation about inviting people to this. Wealth Wave, the book, I mean, see, it's just, you guys should be going nuts. Anyway, so as weird and jacked up as that was, I still went after it. Right? I still went after it. And I couldn't close the door. But I talked to enough people. I had enough relationship capital. So I went from training associate. So I went full-time February 2000. I lined it all up there. Training associate SMD in 90 days. Really with just a couple people. But here's the thing. I made a decision. Okay? So that's a big thing. If you guys are taking notes, you want to write that down. And when are you going to actually make a decision to move?